Wait for it. Wait for it one more time, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guest, Mr. Richard Paolini, and I butchered that. I know I did, but Richard is going to introduce himself to you, our listeners and viewers. Nick, do you want to try first to see if you can get it right?
Paulinelli.
He got it. Nick's there.
He gets the free
phonetically on my notepad.
Yeah, I told you. Just for anybody who's seeing my name for the first time, you don't look at it. Yeah,
Ricardo.
Ricardo. Don't look at my last name when you're trying to pronounce it, because that will your brain will just break. So you break it in half. Paula, Nelly, say it together without pausing. You got my last name. So I am.
Said, hold on 1 second before he started. He said that his last name is definitely a head fake. Don't trust your eyes. Listen to what I tell you. I'm sorry, Paul or Rich.
You cannot believe what you're reading when you try to do my last name. But I am the publisher at Tuscany Bay Books, which is where is it? Over there. We've got several really great authors. Declan Finn. I'm going to leave people out if I do it this way. Roy Griffiths, Josh Griffing, Lori Janeski. There's a bunch more, and then we just relaunched our planetary series. So we've got like another 89 people I could list, but we don't have that kind of time. But yeah, we've been publishing books now for about 5 years, and we're really just keep growing and hopefully we bring some great stories to people to read. That's it. That's I write occasionally, but as a publisher, I don't have that kind of time. But every once in a while, I kick something loose too.
That's pretty good. He's like, that's it. That's the pitch, guys.
That's me. I mean, that's my life right there. Is running Tuscany Bay and writing a book every once in a while.
Yeah. No, 5 years. That's impressive for a startup.
I never thought we'd get here either. It when we first started, it was me, and then it was Jim Christina. In fact, when you're looking at the BDP in the moon, that is Jim's imprint, which was Black Dog Publishing, and mine was Tuscany Bay Publishing. And so we decided to combine them and switch it to Tuscany Bay Books, but we wanted to keep Jim's publishing imprint somewhere. And so when we created our logo, the artist said, "Why don't we just put the initials on the moon?" I'm like, "Hey, works for me. Let's go." So, but yeah, we started small. I think we still have a ways to go, but it's been an interesting journey.
I would zoom in so you could see things, but that image, for whatever reason, is big enough. I can't zoom in on Streamlabs. So
that's all you get, JR. That's
all you get.
That's all you get. Or you can put the magnifying glass on.
All right, so it's been a little bit. You came back to talk about your books back in episode 177, so season 2. So it's been a hot minute. We are almost done with season 3. But first off, how we first found them. So Nick found them through me, and I actually found them because we both write reviews for Upstream Reviews, and he's written in a couple of my anthologies. So that's how we met each other.
Yeah.
I think I've written...
Follow him on social media somewhere. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think we do. And I think I've written a review or two for Upstream back when I actually had enough free time I could do stuff like that. Hopefully I can get back to it sometime, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. I don't know how people like Declan write 1 billion books a year and do all the reviews. And maybe it's just because they don't have kids.
I think he has something hooked to his brain, and it's writing even when he's sleeping.
Dude,
yeah,
so it's just going 24/7. That's why the hats.
That makes sense. I might be afraid of what my brain would produce when I wasn't cognizant to stop the inner asshole from coming out. It might be.
I don't know.
Who knows?
I'd read the hell out of it, though. I'd read the hell out of it.
I mean,
man, this part got dark.
Yeah, it did. Well, I mean, I could take it even darker. I've got a story that I cooked up in my head while I was asleep, and I'm scared to death to write it. It's that dark. And I think people who know me know I take I take risk. I stretch the boundaries. And if I'm thinking, if I'm having second thoughts about it, you can figure out how dark it is. And I don't know what corner that drug out of, but I don't want to go back there. It's scary.
I'm not saying it was LSD, but I'm not saying it either. But luckily, Richard goes to Boston so he can get away with some stuff.
I told you not to eat the mushrooms on your hikes, man.
All right, sir. Are you ready for the religion question?
Sure.
Because you've been here before, we're going to mix it up for you. All right.
Okay.
Back to the Future, Blade Runner, or E.T.?
Oh, well done, JR.
Okay, so we've got. I kind of lost you there for a second. It's Back to the Future, Blade Runner, and what was the last one?
E.T.
And I have to pick one of the three.
Correct.
I got to go with Blade Runner.
Excellent choice. They were all acceptable. They all came out in the 80s. I watched them as a kid. That's how I picked them.
Okay. No, I'm definitely more of a Blade Runner person when it comes right down to it.
That was a little darker. I would have probably picked Back to the Future, but the second one where he went to the Wild West and they asked him how he learned to shoot when he outshot that guy, he goes 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven too. Back when you could get like the penny candy.
Yeah,
I think I just aged myself.
Yeah, I never could get into Back to the Future at all. So, and then E.T. I watched once and it was like, okay, but I kind of, oddly enough, I don't gravitate to the touchy-feely, happy ending sci-fi. I kind of like I like good endings. I like where the good guys win, but I like a little bit more action and whatnot, I guess, to my sci-fi. So I always like Blade Runner of the three better, and mainly because of that last speech that Rutger Hauer gives at the end.
Oh, the teardrop in the rain.
Yes, that is. I'm not sure who wrote that. If I've heard it was him. I don't know if it was him or the screenwriters. Whoever wrote it, that was brilliant. That was well done.
Okay, follow-up question. Since you chose Blade Runner, was Deckard a replicant?
No. I know, unpopular opinion, but no.
No, it's an opinion that has merit. Both of them have kind of merit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the decision makers, when they made the 2049, went with. It's like, just leave it alone. Just leave it a mystery.
You're doing
too much, kid.
No, I liked 2049. There was a couple of issues I had with it, but overall, I did like the sequel. I wish they'd done it a lot earlier, and maybe have Deckard be a little bit more of a participant in it. But it was a good sequel. It was well shot. The director, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I've heard so many different variations. I like he also did the recent Dune, and I like the way he visualizes movies when he's shooting them. So I thought it was good. But yeah, I'm basing most of my opinion on Deckard as coming from the original source material by Philip Dick. When you read that book, I don't get replicant from that story.
Yeah, and I did either, so.
But I've heard the other side of it, and yeah, it does have merit. But I come down on the side of no, he wasn't.
Yeah. Well, like the original. Well, we're going to get it down a tunnel here. JR, continue the question, sir.
No, you're fine. This is why we got rid of the format and we went a little more open, so we have room to have these kinds of fun chats.
Well, yeah,
and sometimes we remember to talk about whatever the topic that brought us here.
Yeah. So was the director? I think was Ridley Scott. Was it Ridley or his brother for the first one?
For the first one, it was Ridley Scott.
Yeah. He even said that Deckard wasn't a replicant.
Yeah. And Philip Dick was around for the movie when they shot it, and I think he actually just came down and said, no, he's not a replicant. So I'm going to lean toward the guy who wrote the story originally, and kind of side with him on if he come out and said, yeah, it was, then I'd probably have to seriously consider changing my mind. But
so I've got a confession to make. So when I was an undergraduate, I was an English major once upon a time. And there's this theory in English lit. I know. Don't like add me to your kill list, but there's this theory in English lit where they have, yeah, I know. He's gonna get the lipstick and just add me. Billy Madison. Anyway, there's this theory. So they did a Robert Frost, The Path Less Taken. And so they were trying to talk about how this was a giant metaphor for life. And they made the mistake of doing it while he was still alive to comment on it. And he goes, no, I literally was just out in nature and I decided I wanted to see the untrodden snow. So I went left instead of right. And I mean, I'm paraphrasing the hell out of it, but the running story was sometimes the cigar is just a cigar. Well, the English literature response to this is, well, no, he meant that. He just didn't know that he meant that. And so now they have determined that the English literature analyzers can add inference that the author just didn't know he was subconsciously, or she was subconsciously adding. So they would still argue that even though Philip Dick said, no, he's not a replicant, he really is, because he didn't know that he was wrong.
That's like saying, like, oh, we didn't know what he was doing, but his subconscious knew what he was doing. That's such a cop-out. Get bent.
There is one stream of thought when it comes to literature, and this one I'll buy, is that once you release the story, anything that you didn't, it's no longer yours. So, like, for instance, where J.K. Rowling did the, with political culture as it evolved, we're going to dance around this topic. And she would say this person was gay or this character, but it wasn't in the book. The argument is once you release it in whatever form you release it, the book belongs to the consumers, and it becomes whatever they, they interpret what you wrote however fits them, and it belongs to them. So if they want that, fine, but you can't retcon what you wrote. So you don't get to add to the story at that point. It belongs to the audience, and that I actually agree with.
Yeah,
because everybody. When you read it,
people. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, you can't. I'm gonna jump in and be contrarian, because that's a big shock for everybody that I would be that way.
That's a big word. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Well, you can retcon if you write yourself a backdoor to get back there, and I don't.
Then it's not really a retcon.
Not really, but I mean, in a way, yes, it is, and no, it isn't. But as an example, with my Del Rio mystery series, it was originally supposed to be 4 books. By the time I started book 3, I was sick and tired of it. I did not want to do anything else with this series for the rest of my life. So I shrunk it down to 3, squished everything into that was supposed to be over 2 books into 1, and started doing J.K. Rowling in the Deathly Hallows book. And I was just wiping out people right and left. Characters were dying, dropping like flies. I did not want to ever come back. But at the end of it, I wrote myself a backdoor, just in case, for whatever reason, I wanted to come back. Because at the end of book 3, and this will be spoilers in a way, there's a major character that dies at the end of book 3, and that would effectively end any reason to continue on. But I left myself an opening, and I'm glad I did, because the way things have worked out, it looks like I may have to go back and write book 4 as a continuation from book 3. If certain things happen. Can't really go into much more than that, other than there is that possibility. I would be screwed if I had not left myself that option, that little door to go back and basically retcon that person being dead now, because they may not be. If we do,
if you have ambiguity, that's not the same as retconning.
I didn't really leave ambiguity, but I did leave a paragraph in there that I could use to go back and say, no, he didn't really die. But if you read the book and don't know that paragraph means that, you think he's gone, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I don't know if that's a 100%, the meaning of the word retcon, but to me it means I can go back and undo something, which is I think basically retconning. But it wasn't left as an ambiguity, though. If I don't do anything and people read the 3 books, they'll never know. They won't even know what paragraph to look for. So yeah, I mean, you could. I don't think you should. I think once you've written it and it's out, leave it alone.
So I looked at the Oxford Dictionary. Says retcon is to revise an aspect of a fictional work retrospectively, typically by introducing a piece of new information that imposes a different interpretation on previously described events. I think fans get more upset when characters act blatantly out of established type or when things get retconned. So that is an example of
Star Wars, the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
That was a big retcon. That's why people are like
the Hodor maneuver or Hodor maneuver would be an example.
Oh my God. Why do you always bring that up when we talk about space combat? You know I'm going to rant.
We actually should probably do an episode where you rant about that.
Well, we could call it Nick's midweek rant or midweek.
Nick's midlife crisis.
No. I already went through that. No. That was at 42. We're 3 years past that, man. Keep up. Oh no. Nick's midweek meltdown.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, there you go. I like it.
I like it. We'll have to see what we can record.
Nick's midweek meltdown.
Actually, we might have to talk about making that like a thing. We could just do like a 15-minute short.
Sure.
The Wrath of Nick.
The Wrath of Nick.
The Wrath of Nick. Every week.
And then we could do
I got one. Look, I don't mean to be a Nick about it, but
there you go.
Yeah. All right.
Dick, you know.
I got you. I was picking up your
the comment section.
I was tracking like a cruise missile.
Like a cruise, like a dragon.
I was tracking like a VCR for you old folks who know.
Right.
Or we could go even older, like a Betamax.
Oh.
Still bitter.
Ooh,
some people are still mad that didn't take on.
Hey, it's not their fault that porn decided to go in the VHS format, making it the superior one, because that's what determined what it was going to be.
Let's really go dinosaur laser discs.
Oh, I love those. They're so huge.
You know the most classic and iconic ever line in science fiction involved technology? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do not.
Where they go to the asteroid to blow it up so it doesn't hit Earth. Armageddon, yes. And the one guy goes, when they ask him what they want to go do this super dangerous mission, and the guy's like, I want you to bring 8-track back.
Oh, yeah. Was that
Michael
Clark Duncan's character?
Yeah, and I don't want to pay taxes ever.
Yeah. That was Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, those were two of the most iconic lines. And then, of course, when he's riding, which is a callback to
Slim Pickens and
when he was riding the gun.
What the hell was that called?
How I Learned to Love the Nuclear Bomb or something like that.
Yeah,
Dr. Strangelove.
Dr. Strangelove. Also known as How I Learned to Love the Bomb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you get up to my age, we can do 60s movies trivia, unfortunately.
All right, so
I love 60s movies, though.
I do too. Because we're polytheistic here, we've got a little bit of a rant, but we don't mind. You're good for it. Jason and the Argonauts, Sheena, or Red Sonja?
Jason and the Argonauts.
With Harryhausen, with the skeletons.
Yeah. Harry. Yeah, I can't get his name out tonight either. No. Yeah, I love that movie. I love that movie.
Stabby has a piece of trivia about Harryhausen.
Oh.
Yes.
Hold on, let me mute real quick.
Bring her in. We want to hear this.
So, if you watch Disney movies, specifically Pixar, they have a restaurant called Harryhausen's in Monsters Inc. And Mike Wazowski's girlfriend demands that he gets reservations to Harryhausen's for dinner for their anniversary.
Nice.
And a lot of people don't catch it, but like if you're watching, it's
Yep. Yeah. He had a lot of classic 1950s, 1960s, anything with a monster roaming around in it. Likely he did. I watched Jason the first time simply because I knew he had done the effects especially with skeletons. I mean, that was great with the fight scene because it actually looked like they were actually fighting. As with some of the stop motion, you're like, okay, you're not even close, but you're kind of throwing stuff together. But he was a master at it. So yeah, definitely Jason and the Argonauts.
Okay.
I think too.
I've watched Red Sonja. I know I have, but I'm not like I couldn't like quote lines from it. But I did love the movie Sheena when I was a kid, about the white girl that was living with the African tribes, and
based off a comic.
Was it really? I know she was taking on the man, and I don't know. I like the underdog nature of the story. I've always been a sucker for an underdog story. So.
And Red Sonja was awesome. It was a backdoor introduction or pilot to break off from Conan. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was in there as a different character, but Schwarzenegger always said, no, that was just Conan was known in the books to roam around the lands with an alias. And that was one of the aliases, apparently.
So we're actually going to be doing another retro review, but this time we're going to do some fantasy movies. So if you like all of that, we'll have to get you on to get nerdy with us about some of these shows.
We got Dragon Slayer.
That's on the list.
You guys did Forbidden Planet, didn't you?
We did Forbidden Planet, and we did the Black Hole.
Unfortunately, that movie was made about 20 or 30 years too early, because it's a classic sci-fi film. If people ask me my top sci-fi films, that's the first one that comes out of my mouth is Forbidden Planet.
I really like their uniforms. If I was going to get into cosplaying, I really dig how they did their uniforms. It actually looked practical. It wasn't like spandex, like leotards that like, okay, but when they actually got to get work done, how's that going to work? Because having worked with my hands in the infantry, I'm just looking at that uniform and I'm like, yeah, there's no way that's what the mechanics are actually wearing.
Oh, the gray suit. No,
not the gray suit, because the gray suit had the top and bottom that you could pare down, so you just got your undershirt. It's not that different from what they were in World War II. You know that works. I'm talking about the Star Trek style jumpsuits.
Then you had Earl Holliman running around in a Navy cook outfit, basically. You know, completely different from everybody else.
Yeah, I really dig the robot though, because I want Robbie the robot to make any of the gallons of that.
What did he say? It was like 60 gallons of bourbon.
Yeah.
And he put it all in individual bottles in like 750s.
Can you imagine like the crew is like, we're totally doing this for a tax write-off, because they could have gotten away with props, but they're like, nope, all of them are real bottles.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna recycle that glass. We're gonna recycle that glass. We're getting 10 cents a bottle, guys.
Yeah.
Party at the big house. I mean, not gonna lie, if I was doing that, I'd totally add stuff like that just for that reason. It's like, oh, it's a prop. We wrote it off. Where'd it go? Oh, we couldn't let it go to waste. It's spoiled.
Yeah.
I also need 60 gallons of gin because I got mixers I want to make.
Yeah. I'm sure Robbie could whistle that right up too.
Absolutely. That's why I want Robbie, and that's why Robbie is so popular, because he can make
every time I see a Robbie at a con, which is rare because it takes a lot of work to build that thing, I go up and I ask him for, like, hey, I need 60 gallons of bourbon.
Do they ever get the reference?
I hope so, if they're wearing Robbie, man.
Yeah, you better. If you're doing Robbie, you better know that movie by heart.
I can produce them in 300 different glass bottles.
My youngest wants to get into robotics because Iron Man inspired him. For all Marvel got wrong, they did a lot of inspiring science fiction in general. I think inspired.
Phases 1 through 3 Marvel are amazing,
but so
parts of Phase 4.
When he's told me he wants to do that, so when we were watching the retro review for Forbidden Planet and the robot was there, I'm like, I want you to make me one of those. Why? Because he can make me whatever food I want. And then, of course, it's right before the booth scene. He's like, why would you want that when you could get cookies, Dad? I'm like, you'll understand when you're older.
Also have him make Maximilian, because I think he would be a wonder chopping up veggies in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
He's the Slice-O-Matic, man.
Yeah, the only problem is you'd have to make sure he's not chopping you instead of the onions. So,
right. I mean, he's a murder bot. I get it.
Yeah.
But maybe we can reprogram a little with like a little Julia Child,
Maybe it's all about who you put in the outfit. Like maybe it's whatever body you lobotomize for it.
Right.
I mean,
I want you to put Gordon Ramsay in there. I want you to chop me up some shit.
Well, we want someone society won't miss. So let's start in DC.
Why am I cutting this up, you trumpet?
No, we got to start with useless people, so we got to go to DC first.
Oh yeah,
nobody will miss them.
Oh, here's where we go.
I'm down for that, but
I didn't say what political party, did I? I hate them all.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind AOC. I bet she doesn't know what a garbage disposal is, but I'm sure she can dice up some veggies. Maybe Blumpkin. I mean, Blipkin. No.
I thought we
Rick-
weren't going to go political,
Whiskey.
Nick.
We have. I think we took the off ramp.
Okay, be sure to send the hate mail to me this time. It'll be in the show notes. I'll answer.
The Blasters and Blade podcast neither confirm nor deny, neither endorse nor support the messages portrayed by Ranger Nick.
There you go.
Yeah,
you're covered.
All right, cool.
All right, now that we got that,
The show's covered. Me, not so much.
Yeah. Nice knowing you, Nick, but we're going on here.
I'm going to go dark and live on
because
the
we are civilized. We're no longer knuckle dragging troglodytes now that we're civilians. Sir, are you ready for the last one?
Fire away.
Coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
See, I want to be a smart aleck and say Dr. Pepper because I don't drink coffee and I rarely drink tea. So I'm going to lean on my Southern roots and say sweet tea if I have tea.
Table wine.
Okay. I gig it. If I wasn't trying to get back in shape to fit back in my uniform by Christmas of next year, I would be drinking the table wine because I love it too. God, I love it. I miss it.
Richard, didn't you say Dr. Pepper? Also?
Yes.
Okay, so that's good. That's from Plano, Texas.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm a Texas boy myself. So
isn't Plano, Texas like the meth capital of America?
Well, it is now. Not when they invented Dr. Pepper, man.
No, who needs meth when you got DP, man? Come on.
Yeah. Then you get cherry DP, which is weird because cherry is one of the 23 flavors.
Yeah, I wondered about that because I know it's in there. I also know another item that's in there that kind of gave me pause once I found out. Not a big prune fan, but apparently there is prune juice in it.
Yeah, when I learned that, I was like, no, that ain't right. And then I got a can because of course I had them in the refrigerator, and I pop one open. I'm like, well, I'll be.
Yep. There's a little bit of prune in there.
A little bit of prune in there, which explains some stuff.
It does.
Are you a purist, or can you get down with the Dr. Pibb as well?
No.
It's Mr. Pibb. Dude didn't even get his degree.
Yep. Jim's running joke whenever we went out to lunch or something, I'd always ask, do you have Dr. Pepper? And either they would say yes, or they would go, no. And Jim would stop them and go, don't say, but we have Mr. Pibb because he will come out from under this table.
There's actually a funny interview they did with this lady who was like 98. And they asked her what the secret of her longevity was. And she was telling about this story where she was talking to her doctor, and he told her that she didn't like coffee or tea, so she drank 3 Dr. Peppers a day. And they were telling her that's not good for her, and she really needed to stop. And she said, but that was 15 years later, I'm still alive drinking my Dr. Pepper, and I went to his funeral, so who knows something about something, huh? And there's just this sassy old Southern lady, and I'm like, I mean, you can't argue with that. And that makes me think that if I ever make it that old and someone interviews me, I'm just going to throw some like out of the left field, like, oh, I ate a pine cone a day for longevity. Just something weird just to make people like, what? Just scratch their head.
Yeah, my wife almost divorced me. We went to the doctor together. The insurance wanted our testing done. So they go to do blood for the tests on that. And she had come up with a high blood sugar on hers. And so she's like, okay, I know how much Dr. Pepper he drinks and what he eats. His is going to be higher than mine. Mine actually came in at like 80.
Oh, wow.
Which surprised me because I know I know my diet.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be acting surprised. I'm like, hey, there you go.
I didn't mean to hit that button, people. Oops. I
was like, usually you give a little prep there.
I'm thinking Three Ravens is pirating the show now, huh?
That is, man. I think it's Hillbilly, dude.
Hillbilly would do it. I would not put it past him. But I like that dude, so he's all right.
He would do something silly.
He's good, a
podcast.
I was looking at my dreamland as I found a 45-acre plot out in Patrick County, Virginia. And it's just away from people because I've had enough peopling. I'm ready just to, I'm just saying the movie Falling Down makes a lot more sense.
The older you get, the more sense it makes. Yep.
Like Red, the dad in the 70s show, like Al Bundy, like they start to make a lot more sense to me the older I get.
I'm a hairier Red now, to be honest with you. There's a couple of things that I've said to the kids.
I mean, the good news is I don't have to worry about going gray because I'm going bald first, but
there you go.
I got to use a red line though. I got to use one of his lines once. He
Which
goes,
one? Which one?
My daughter's. He was like, "Oh man, I have such a bad headache because she went out and partied." And I was like, "You know what that is? That is your mind trying to comprehend its own stupidity."
Yep, that sounds like Red. Yeah, it's amazing with falling down. When I first saw it, I was obviously much younger. I'm like, man, that dude snapped. I mean, come on, you shake it off, go about your business. Nowadays,
problem.
I'm like, dude, you missed a few. Go back.
That realization at a certain age, you're like, I get it. That tracks. Yeah. When I was younger, and watched it, I was like, man, what is this guy's problem, Dad? He's like, shut up, I'm watching a movie. And I'm like, okay. And I found myself saying that as an adult.
Yeah.
As a parent, I'm like,
were you raised in a barn?
Father.
What are you leaving all the doors open, the faucet running, the lights on, whatever it is? And it's always, were you raised in a barn? And like, now I get it. So when I had my
mom,
when I had my first apartment,
throw in there a little sugar. And it wasn't just were you raised in a barn. She's like, I know you weren't raised in a barn. There's only one dude I know that was raised in a barn. His name Jesus.
Okay.
My dad and mom would always do that to me. And so when I got my first apartment, because the heating and AC were separate of each other, so I opened all the doors, all the windows, turned on all the lights, had the AC and the heater running at the same time. And I called my mom and dad, and I'm like, hey, guess what I'm doing? And I told them, this is before you could do like the video calls back then. And they just started laughing, and they're like, talk to me next month when you get the bill. And I called it back the next month, and I'm like, you sons of biscuit eaters.
You son of a biscuit eater. See, now I get mad if someone touches the thermostat. I'm like, who touched the thermostat?
Yeah.
And it's off by like 1 gram. I'm like, who touched it? It's like a dad power you get when you have kids.
Yeah. I totally get it now. It makes a lot of sense. I'm just saying it makes a lot.
You're rolling your eyes at me. I can sense it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't make me turn this car around.
I always like it when my kids couldn't figure out how I figured out what they were up to. And I said, because I was your age once, believe it or not.
We were just smart enough
doing the same stuff that I did back then. So
you guys ain't special. That's what I call Gen Z. I call them the Columbus generation because they're running around thinking they're discovering shit.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not.
Yeah,
that's always fun.
I definitely understand my drill sergeant who had this line every time we would do, whoever the house mouse was that was like getting supplies for the barracks. He'd be like, you privates, all you ever want to do is eat, sleep, shit, and use up, oh my God, damn toilet paper. And I didn't understand that at the time. But now I've got teenage boys, and I'm just saying, I understand that man on a level I never thought I would.
Yep. There's a lot of Hollywood dads that I'm quoting now. One of them is the father from Friday.
Oh, yeah.
You ever seen it? I walk in there, and then there's Caden with his face in the freaking refrigerator. I'm like, how come and every time I come into the kitchen, you in the kitchen. Eating up all my food. Eating all the pig's feet, all the chitlins. I like pig's feet. I like chitlins, And he's looking at me confused because he's never seen the movie. So that's a double win for me.
You know what we need to do next year on Father's Day, because we missed it this year? We really have to have a father and sci-fi episode with all the good one-liners, so we can start doing our research. Yeah. We could do the fathers of sci-fi as an episode. We could do the same for Mother's Day. Get some actual moms on and have them. Like, that could be some fun
favorite episodes. Sci-fi mom moments.
Yeah.
Actual that'd work. Moms, not fake moms.
What'd she say?
Like she said actual moms, not fake moms. I think she's referring to people that call themselves dog moms.
Oh, yeah.
No, JR said actual moms. I said, yeah, actual moms, not fake moms.
Yeah, but what do you mean?
No, she's saying that there's... I get what she's picking. I'm picking up what she's laying down.
Could you translate and send that to me? Because
I said actual moms as opposed to, like, if I'm implying that there are other kinds of moms. So actual moms as opposed to not actual moms. She was tweaking my phraseology.
I was being a smartass.
Now, I was referring to actual moms as opposed to, like, Nick and Richard and I, because clearly we're not moms.
I hope so.
Okay,
I can't even handle my own man cold, let alone child cold. Like, I used to do cool shit, but I wince at like, oh, that seems like some pain. That seems like getting kicked in the balls times 1,000.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Except for that one time in Thailand, I had to pay extra.
You made I'm pretty sure you signed a non-disclosure agreement about that, so we're just going to move right on. And since I accidentally hit the wrong button, oops, I'm going to go ahead and let.
I keep forgetting about that. Let's get back on topic, boys.
So we did a half an hour talking about the intro religion questions. I had a blast, but now I'm going to hit that commercial. I'm going to go ahead and let Burning Roads be the sponsor, which is not what we planned, but I mean, why not? We already talked about Hillbilly, and maybe if we play it, he'll give us some of his mead. You think?
Or money.
Money's good too. I'd rather the booze though, because booze is money, people.
I work for
international currency, so
yeah, I think he can outbid me. So yeah, you might want to do that.
My royalties come in gift cards to booze shops. So
that is love, sir. That is love.
Oh, I do not disagree with you at all.
So, all right, we're gonna air that beautiful bean footage, people.
Atlanta cabbie by day, amateur auto duelist by night. Ricky Turner is living the dream. That is, until he wakes up in a Gold Cross facility to discover his last match was more than a failure. It was a fatality. Indebted for the cost of the clone body and reboot, Ricky heads back to the arena to do the one thing he knows how to do: drive offensively. But at the rate amateur matches pay out, it'll take several lifetimes to pay his debt. Luckily, the AADA has announced a new nationwide road rally designed to challenge even the hardiest of auto-dueling teams. Dead Man's Run. Can Ricky and his clandestine crew traverse the wasteland from Atlanta to Sturgis, survive against packs of cannibals, roving biker gangs, and amateur auto-duelists out to make a name for themselves? Welcome to the world of the Car Warriors Auto Duel Chronicles. Tales from the freeways of the future, where the right-of-way goes to the biggest guns and death sports rule the airwaves. From clandestine highway battles to primetime arena combat, jump behind the wheel, follow the fast-paced action, and never forget to drive offensively. Burning Roads, Dead Man's Run Book 1 by William Joseph Roberts, narrated by Joshua Saxon, available from Three Ravens Publishing on Amazon and anywhere books are sold.
So basically, that was Damnation Alley meets Cannonball Run.
Yeah, but
also
when Nick and I were in Iraq, we had the expression "drive it like you stole it" was the way we would talk about that kind of aggressive driving. And when I taught our replacements how to drive aggressively, it had some official boring army name, but we called it Road Rage 101. That was fun.
Combat it was defensive driving is what they put it. What they really meant offensive driving, because I took it as a offensive driving, and we had a welder in our squad, and I had him put a bulldozer shovel in the front of our Humvee. Little did I know that the shovel outweighed the Humvee, and we were just kind of like riding an endo the whole time and just making sparks. But then when we got the 1114s, the up armored ones that were already heavy as shit, we did that experiment again, and it was great success, much fun.
They gave you the the 1114s?
Yeah.
I had the 900s.
Well, I mean, I think
we
earned it. We took 4 IED blasts on what we called Frankenstein 6, which is us just welding metal plates to shit.
According to my official VA record, I was 35 concussions from 35 separate IEDs. My nickname, one of them was Lucky, and they didn't mean it as a compliment.
Yeah, that's not so much. I would have nicknamed you Voodoo.
But yeah, that was an interesting time to be alive. Although, if they gave gun truck operators the same credit counting system that they gave pilots in aerial combat, I was an ace 3 times over. Those V-beds didn't stand a chance.
I got to fire the first grappling hook at another car and drag it in combat. So
that is freaking awesome. Cool. I cannot claim that one. What I will say is our first sergeant volunteered us for so many missions that the sergeant major of not just our division, but the 101st Airborne in the 3rd Army came down to give our first sergeant a little lecture on taking care of his Joes. That's how many missions he volunteered us for. I was on Route Irish. Cool. I lived on it for weeks. And if you know, you know.
Ideally. Yeah, if you know, you know.
We did all the runs driving school. Yeah, that's where we went. We did all the runs to Mortarita's, otherwise known as LSA Anaconda. Good times.
Right. Yeah, I love having flashbacks.
Yeah, I'm the non-vet in the group because I prefer to be the shooter as opposed to be the target. So
I mean,
you
I
know,
just
mad respect for you guys for what you have done.
11 Bravo,
Really.
professional bullet magnet.
Yep.
there's a famous quote from the Civil War about the feeling of being shot at and missed. That it comes to mind, but I'm TBI moment, and it's not rattling around all the way.
Yeah.
And maybe it was, I don't know.
Good.
I'm
My
just too
dumbass
lazy to
do
Google
it
that right
again
now, but
in a
maybe
heartbeat.
Stabby will come in for us in the pinch. You find that quote.
Stabby's gonna be clutch.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's always
She's
clutch.
she is in addition to being Madam Stabby Stab, she is the maven of the Googles.
There you go.
Civil War quote about bullet missing you.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of having a gun pointed at me twice, and as far as I'm concerned, that was 3 times too many.
I found it. Google is my friend. Nothing is so exhilarating as to be shot at without result. Winston Churchill. But I'm pretty sure there was a quote about that from the devil known as William Tecumseh Sherman and about making war awful.
Sure, that sounds like something Sherman would come up with.
That reminds me of another quote. One of my favorite authors, Hemingway. I emulate his writing style as far as I drink copious amounts of bourbon and then start doing stuff. There was no hunting like the hunting of man, and those who have hunted armed men long enough and liked it will never hunt anything else after.
There is something to be said about when you come home from those kinds of missions. Everything else just seems a little less exciting.
I could believe that.
And other shit didn't really rousel me up too much. It's like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I was the dog drinking tea in that room that's on fire. That meme. I'm like, yeah, this is fine. This is fine right here. I know. I'm used to this.
Now, yeah, the only thing that I could even come up with in my life, because back in the before times, I worked in the oil fields in West Texas, and one of our jobs we were drilling for water to build a station for the big rigs to get brine water, which is basically 100% salt water, so that they could drill deep enough. So our job was to go out and drill little water wells and build a station where they could be close enough to get a lot of water to the rig. So one of our rigs was out there south of Monahans, Texas, in the sand hills, and they shut down for the day, come back the next morning, and there's mud everywhere. I mean, just like it blew up, right? Find out that we had hit a natural gas field down there. So they switched the station to a natural gas producing because you didn't have to have a pump for that. The gas was blowing up the hole all on its own. So, but the thing was, you had to have a pipe down there, and every once in a while you had to go and you had to open up the pipe because it was getting clogged up. Only way you could do that is to run a strip of explosives down 350 feet.
Wow.
Set it off, get that cable out, and then slam the wellhead down before everything came up because we put a bunch of water on top. And it would only hold for so long. We never got the wellhead completely down to avoid getting hit with a bunch of salt water, but at least the wellhead got on. Because if the wellhead's off, we're toast. Yeah. So one day we're doing this. We're getting set up. We've got the wellhead off. We're getting ready to put the explosives down. There are signs everywhere. Do not smoke live gas field. Everywhere. And we're out in the middle of nowhere. So this dude comes up in his pickup, drives into the pad, jumps out of his truck with a lit cigar.
I know where this is going.
Goes, what are y'all doing? I said, well, I'm writing my will because we're about to die. And he goes, what? I said, turn around and look at the sign 5 feet behind you.
Right.
He reads it. He turns around, white as a sheet. He goes, I bet y'all wish I put this out. I said, could you? Before you blow us up? Because if that field had gone, and if we had screwed up the explosives, there would be a crater, like the meteor crater that you see in Arizona. We would have created that crater, and we wouldn't be here.
Or something like that.
That field was huge.
Yeah.
And the guy pulls up with a lit cigar, and we're like, "Oh my God, we're dead."
That must have what happened. So it's no secret that I'm a border patrol agent. We were working deer by the river in South Texas, and we get out of the truck one day just to go check. We'd got a call that some groups have run through, so we're out there running sign, checking sign, looking for footprints essentially, and then all of a sudden we get rained on by a literal shit ton of mud.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize at the time that there was an oil field a couple farms over.
Yeah, they had
They
a
hit us.
blowout.
They hit us from about, it had to have been over a mile.
Yeah, I can believe it.
And we're now our nice fancy uniforms in the Texas heat during summer with the humidity. Now we're all just like covered in mud. Our green went to brown real quick.
Yeah, drilling mud too. They probably had the stuff that they mix in it to make it thicker. So yeah. I remember those days with not even a single ounce of fondness.
I didn't even try to recover the uniform. When I got back that day, it went right in the dumpster, and me and my partner both, with our body armor, which was still covered mud, we got to keep that. But we were in our underwear and our socks. We threw our boots out too, and our rifles, and we went and turned it in. And the guy that was taking it, he's like, "All right." He grabs the rifle, and he's like,
"Yeah, what did you do?
What the hell happened to you two?"
Yeah.
Luckily, towards the end of shift.
Well, the good thing is, the good thing is when we got hit with either the salt water up the well, or if we had a blowout and the mud was everywhere, you would just walk over to the station because it's an overhead pipe, and you just little hose comes down and you fill up a tanker truck, a full size tanker truck. So they don't take all day to get that filled up. So you would just walk over there, and you would take turns standing underneath it. Somebody pull the cord, and you get doused until all the water, all the salt, all the mud was gone. And then you spent the rest of the day, and in summer it wasn't so bad, but you spent the rest of the day drying out. But at least you could still reuse your clothes. But it took that kind of water power to get that stuff out, So yeah, I know what you went through that day.
So you probably understand some of the things we did. You would sweat weird patterns, and because it was so hot in the Middle East, because deserts are dry heat, anywhere it's dry heat, this applies, that you would have weird patterns because the salt would stain your uniforms because it would the way the whatever. So we used to have contests when we would take off our flak jacket when we'd go into the tent to sleep when we were fob jumping.
Oh, salt stain. Did you do salt stain art?
Yeah, to see one guy had swear to God, it looked like Jesus was in his salt stain. And the chaplain swore, we called the base chaplain. We're like, "Hey, we need you to come here and judge this contest." He goes, "Another freaking," and he said freaking, not effing. He said, "Another freaking salt stain contest." Let me guess, Jesus. And I'm like, "Wait, there's been others?"
Wait, you see the first one?
Yeah, he comes out and he goes, "Well, crap, this one actually looks like Jesus." And I'm like, "So we won?"
So I got to ask you, because the desert can get cold in the winter. Especially certain deserts, right? Yeah. So we're down in West Texas. If you find Ozona on the map, we were in that general area.
I know where Ozona is.
Worst winter in decades. It was cold. It was like 20 below as soon as the sun disappeared. So we're out there, and we're at a point where sometimes you just got to keep going. You don't get to go home, and you don't get to go to sleep. You catch a nap in the truck of the cab and just keep going because you have to.
Yeah.
So we're out there, and we started building a fire at night just so we'd have somewhere to get warm.
Some sort of warmth.
So I'm working, and my dad was the driller for this rig. I worked with him for a few years, and I'm doing something out on the perimeter where the lights were. And I look back, and my dad's sitting next to the fire, and he's talking to the other hand, and my dad's left leg is on fire. He had overalls on that were insulated and fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was still on fire from about midway down the leg from the knee down.
Oh, wow.
And he's not doing anything but standing there talking. I'm like, okay. So I walked over as quickly as I could. I didn't run, but I walked over. I go, "So how we doing? Feeling warm?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "That's why." And he looks down and he goes, "Oh." Takes his coffee out, douses it. He goes, "Damn, I was finally feeling warm for the first time in a month."
You had to light yourself on fire.
You heard The Night on the Barge of Lake Lamarge, where he buried Sam McGee. That's that poem. It makes sense. No, so with the desert in Iraq, because that's my desert experience, it wasn't that it got that cold in the winter. It's just when it was at night, the temperature dropped because there was nothing to hold the heat. That it would go
About
from
40
like
degrees.
100 to 60 or 70, which here in the States, we're like, oh, that's comfortable. I'll walk out in t-shirts and shorts. But for you, you're like, man, I'm freaking dying. Where's my Arctic gear? It's because of such a drastic change is what made it colder more than
Dude, I almost got hypothermia at 87 degrees.
Yep.
Because it was so hot during the day. It was like, it was teetering on 120. And I was in the Palm Grove, so I was getting humidity too, right next to the Tigers.
I was there.
As soon as that sun dropped, that wind started kicking up across the river. And next thing you know, it's 87 degrees, and I'm putting on all the snivel gear I got in my rucksack. And we're cuddling for warmth. 3 barrel-chested freedom fighters that kills bad guys, stacks bodies for a living, thinking about, should we get naked to conserve body heat?
Wow.
God, we didn't. We suffered through the night. Nobody got a wink of sleep. So, but we were cold.
You did not enlist in the Marine Corps. That is good to know.
No. Because we weren't underway, so you can't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There are rules. I understand.
You got to play by the rules, man.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. So
right.
we were there the year, because you were there the same year I was in 05. It got hot enough that one of the mercury thermometers on Anaconda when we were there, it went up to 140, which is where it maxed out. It exploded because it got hotter, built up so much pressure that at 140 it couldn't take it. It was, my friends that are scientists will tell me that means it was between 150 and 160 that day to make the
probably where it was, because there's a lot of metal in those. I remember seeing the email about having to wrap it up in cold water, and you had to rotate that every 30 minutes.
So I wasn't important enough to get those emails. I just came when they said gun trucks up, and that was that.
I wasn't important enough either, but somehow I weaseled into that blockchain, into that distro list. They're like, "Oh, Sergeant Garber probably wants to know about this. He likes science," and I'm like, "No, not that much. I'm in combat, bro."
Hey, sometimes it's not who you are; it's who you know. Sometimes.
Or who hates you.
Well, I knew the asshole that put me on that distro. That's what it was. Somebody hated me and put me on that distro list. So I get like 90 emails a day about, oh, you got to wrap this in wet towels. And I'm like, why do I care about this? I'm out here in the field. I'm going to wrap myself in a wet towel.
So you'll get a kick out of this then, Nick. I don't know if we've talked about this on the show. When I was getting ready for my first deployment, they sent us to desert warfare training to prepare us for what we would experience in the Middle East at Fort Dix, New Jersey in the winter. So we did our desert training operation wearing DCUs, rolling in 3 feet of snow that year.
Yeah, they sent me to JRTC.
I got to go to Fort Dix. I'd probably rather go to JRTC. But Fort Dix is right
Nobody wants to go to Fort Dix. That place is hell.
It's right next to an Air Force base, and we used to try to outrun their guards to get under the wire so we could use their DFAC. Not that they really cared, because DFAS doesn't care, like they're paying regardless, but their chain of command and our chain of command cared. So it became a race of us against them. Could you outsmart them and get good chow?
I don't know. They're supposed to be the smart branch, too.
Well, we outsmarted them a few times, and we were smart enough to bring backpacks to sneak some back in case we couldn't make the repeat. Because when you would breach the fence, they would generally, the guards would come and be like, oh, somebody clipped the fence. Let's fix the fence. So you couldn't go to the same spot because they would expect that. So you had to keep.
You guys were nice enough to clip it.
What else would you do? I mean, they wouldn't give us TNT.
No, we had det cord. we blew the fucking fence.
Dude, we were just straight leg nasty girls. Like, they weren't trusting us with det cord.
Oh, dude, I was when I deployed to Iraq, I was in the National Guard. I was just in a specialty unit that had access to det cord.
They did not like us that much, or maybe they knew about me and they'd heard stories because.
Well,
I mean, you bring down one town and they take away your Mark 19 and they get really pissy.
I think the reason I got that stuff, and I blame my 201 file when I left active duty, is that I went to basic demolitions course. My instructor had 2 of the 5 fingers he was supposed to have, and apparently that's the guy you want to trust.
Okay.
He let me make a snowman at a C4 because it was December. Oh yeah.
Nice.
We only got about like 3.5 feet tall. That was all the C4 we had, and it was the last detonation of the course. It's like we're gonna let Specialist Garber at the time, like, he has an idea. He wants to make a snowman, and it was like, oh hell yeah, dude, blow that shit. So everybody was helping me in the course. We're getting C4 from all kinds of places. And and we build this 3.5-foot tall snowman out of fucking C4. And it was snow. There was snow on the ground. There was frozen ground because we're in Fort Lewis, Washington. And we put it out probably about 300 meters. And the lead demo instructor was like, nah, you're going to probably want to go a little bit further than that. We got about 1,000 yards of deck cord. So take it 1,000 yards away.
So this is going to hit because some of our older veterans might have actually done basic training at Fort Dix, because at one point in time that was, up until I think the 80s, a basic training location as well. So what sucks more, Fort Lewis or Fort Dix in the winter? I mean, Fort Lewis sucks, but it's not in New Jersey, which adds a level of
Fort Lewis? Where is
Fort Lewis? In Washington State. So you get a mixture of, like, it'll snow one night and then rain night, or you'll get a mixture of snow and rain at the same time. It's really weird.
Having not been at either fort, but knowing what I know about New Jersey, I would say Fort Dix.
Oh,
New Jersey just sucks. And I'm sorry for people who live in New Jersey. Get out as quick as you can. But that state, I've been there once. I went through there once to go to a wedding from New York City to Philadelphia and back. And I could not get through that trip fast enough from just what I could see when I was looking out the window. It's like no.
New Jersey snow is different. As Kevin Hart would call it, you got that slushy shit. You know? It's like 1 minute it's hard as rock. The next minute it's like a 7-Eleven Slurpee all over the place. It's slushy, you know, and you're slipping all over on. Man, I almost broke my fucking tailbone over there.
I believe it.
I spent 4 years in North Dakota, so
That's
New Jersey and DC.
Dakota's you get two kinds of snow. You get powder when it's fresh, and you get it rock hard when it's been around for a while.
And you get a lot of it too.
Feet worth.
We went to my dad passed away a couple of years ago. And originally the plan was we were going to bury him up there in North Dakota next to my grandfather. We had the thing planned out, and the mortuary calls me up about a week in advance. He goes, we probably need to postpone. I said, well, if we do this, it may be next year before we can get up there. He goes, trust me, we need to postpone. We've got a storm coming. And when you hear that, right, if you've lived in North Dakota, when somebody says a storm's coming in the winter, you go stock up. And sure enough, the next time I hear from this guy, he goes, okay, we finally got out of our house. It's been 5 days before they could even get out. Okay. And he goes, we're definitely postponing, and it may be a few months before we even get to the cemetery, because right now, the only way we know where it is, one pine tree is sticking up out of the snow.
Just
one. And if I could show you, there's pine trees around that cemetery. So if the tallest one's the only one you could see, they got bombed. Apparently, the blizzard came and just parked right on top of North Dakota for 4 days.
My Lord.
So that's
one way to get out of peopling. I approve of this.
If you want to go somewhere where there's not a whole lot of people, move to North Dakota. I think they've only got like 500,000.
You used to say Montana was that, but a lot of people that left Washington State and Oregon and California because they didn't agree with some of the management possibilities have now moved there, and the land prices have gone crazy. Texas is
there's a border patrol station there.
Well, we're planning on, my wife and I, when we retire in a couple of years, we're actually planning on moving to North Dakota.
Nice.
So it's going to be funny having Tuscany Bay Books with our logo being the sea, and we're 1,500 miles from the nearest ocean.
I approve.
I'll just send you pictures from St. Augustine, Florida, because that's where I'm retiring.
I'm going to the Appalachian Mountains, and if I hear banjos, I'm just going to keep walking. I'm ignoring it.
Keep walking.
I'll never go. I plan on never stepping foot in Georgia ever again after Ranger School. So
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for people when I tell them I'm the publisher at Tuscany Bay Books. Oh, where's that at? Like the coast? No. We're dead center of the country. Well, when we started it was in Los Angeles, but now we're in North Dakota. So I'm not changing the name again. So Tuscany Bay and North Dakota.
It's like, well, I mean, I'm sure there was a glacier ocean here a millennia ago. Yeah. But
just let the snow melt. The Missouri will flood, and we'll have boats everywhere. We're fine.
So when I was at that Fort Dix in the winter, this is the funniest thing. It's the funniest thing I remember of any of my time in the Army. You're supposed to, because we're at this fob. I think they call it Eagle. It's the training fob before we go to Iraq. And you're supposed to be in battle rattle the whole time. So your flak jacket, your suspender belt with all your gear, because they hadn't changed over how they had us wearing it, your Kevlar, your boots, and your gun. That was your rifle. That was your standard uniform. The presumption was you would also be wearing your camouflage uniform. This guy woke up in the middle of the night, had to use the bathroom, something. That MRE was tearing through his bowels. And so I'm standing guard, and all of a sudden this naked man is running out, literally wearing boots, flak jacket, the LBV suspender vest, and his Kevlar popping around on his head as he's running to the shitter. And I'm just like, I mean, okay, it's cold. I get it. You get a pass. I'm just saying, sir, maybe paint. But I mean, he was in the required uniform of the day to the letter. And I just, every time I think about the cold, I remember that guy running out to the porta potty and laughing.
Oh yeah.
If you guys want to go from extreme hot to extreme cold in a small amount of time, just live in Vegas.
Yeah.
Because you'll be 120 and then the sun will set and you'll be at 42 and you'll be freezing because you've been at 120 all day. And then out of left field, winter decides to join the party and you're dropping down into the 20s. You walk out, there's snow in the morning, but then you're back up into the 80s by the afternoon. Vegas don't know what it wants to be when it grows up.
Yeah. I drove through there in July one time. It was already 120. And we got outside south of Vegas where they've got those big whatever solar collectors are. And you could just feel the heat radiating off of them. You're miles away on the freeway. You okay over there?
He's having a coughing fit.
No dying on the show.
Well, if you do, we charge extra and put it on camera, okay?
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's
Go ahead. So I just realized we're an hour in, Richard, and we came here to talk about Tuscany Bay Books. And it's come up incidentally about your logo as you move to North Dakota. And if you do notice, as this segue, nobody ever talks about South Dakota. Everyone wants to go to North Dakota. I don't know why they don't like South Dakota, but nobody does.
That's where they keep the monsters.
Now, South Dakota has Mount Rushmore and nothing else. Just keep on going. Well, I'm going to piss off everybody before this night's over at this rate. I got.
That's what we're here for at the Blasters Blades podcast. We're not getting hate mail. We've been waiting months for hate mail to get sent to Stabby.
Well, yeah,
not a line, not a drop.
Yeah, no. North Dakota and South Dakota is a hate relationship anyway. So but yeah, it's it'll be interesting when we do move up there. I'm sure I'm going to spend half of my time trying to explain why a company with a ship sailing the sea logo is in the middle of North Dakota. But, I'm willing to have that conversation.
Just throw on your sunglasses and be like, deal with it, Jack.
Yep. We'll build our house in the shape of a ship and just screw with everybody's head there. That'll work.
There you go, little moat area in
I
the front.
want the guy that has the turret, like, like the round metal stone on his keep, like. There's a company out of Iowa or Idaho, I can't remember, that will actually build houses like a castle with a brick face.
It's Iowa.
It's Iowa?
Iowa has more castles than Europe.
Yeah, I priced it before the Great Depression that we're living through with the economy in the current day. And so I don't know if I can afford it anymore.
Come on.
But I'm just saying, like, when I buy my dream homestead, I will have a moat. I will have a castle, and I want secret passageways.
I want access codes so I can get in if I'm ever in town. Make you a spaghetti dinner out of Chef.
Dude, we'll totally have our bourbon up on the turret, whatever they call the little patio up there, where in theory we could do guard duty. And if we put our rifle there, it's technically we're on watch. We're not drinking, we're on watch.
You're gonna put me on the watch when I come to visit?
That's cold.
That's dog. As my kids would say, that's dog water, bro. Dog water.
So back to this Tuscany Bay Books. So first question, hour in, we sometimes, like I said, remember to talk about whatever the topic was, but you guys seem to like this, dear listener, this unscripted hour with JR and Nick. But how did this company start? Like, what's the origin story?
Well, to be honest, started back in 2007 when I was up in Northern California, and I was winding down my newspaper days, and I wanted to do something else. We wound up doing an online magazine with a print version, and that was Tuscany Bay Publishing's first run. Didn't take off. Small business, they don't always succeed. It's just the way it is. But I kept it going because I was just getting ready to start writing my own books, and I think I released a couple of short stories on Amazon in the early days, just to have them out there. Didn't really try to do too much with it, and just kind of let it set until I decided, after about 2 years of being a traditionally published author, that I was tired of doing all the heavy lifting and giving away 90% of what the book made to the publisher and to my agent, who really weren't doing that much when it came right down to it. I mean, the publisher had a newsletter they put out. That was the extent of their advertising. My agent did even less. And I'm sure she's going to be happy to hear that, but too bad. So I decided that I was done with that. I had Escaping Infinity, I had just finished, and I wanted to try indie. So I just resurrected Tuscany Bay Publishing and released Escaping Infinity. It did well. I wound up getting on a radio show that was based out of Los Angeles called The Writer's Block, and the host was Jim Christina. And as it turned out, that first night when I came in, we got to talking. We discovered that I had just moved down to Simi Valley, and I could walk out my front door, tee up a 3-iron, and one hop his front door. We were that close.
Oh, wow.
Out of all of LA, and it was so odd. So there was a couple of times where he had me on as a guest, as a co-host when his other co-host was absent, and I would just drive over to his house and drive in. Then I became a permanent co-host. And one night we're driving in, and he goes, "So look, I've got Black Dog Publishing. You've got Tuscany Bay Publishing. What do you say we combine them together? We form our own publishing house, and we start publishing other authors besides us." Because we had come across some people on the show that were looking to either find a new publisher or get published, and he thought it'd be a good idea for us to have that option. And I went, "Yep, sounds good. Let's give it a shot." I like I said, I had low expectations of where this was going to go, and it. I'd say for the first year, I think we had our stuff. We had it. I call it how did we phrase it? It was a comedy. It was women's comedy kind of book. It was okay. Then we had another one was a nonfiction, and I kind of felt that was where we were going to be doing 1 or 2 titles a year. And it took off when the Planetary series became available, when Superversive Press shut down, and they said, "We'll let anybody who has a publishing house who wants to try to finish it do it." And I'm thinking, I want us to do science fiction other than just what I'm doing. Here's the perfect way to get into it. Let's finish this series. Let's publish at the time it was 90 people who had stories in the 11 volumes. We did that, and it seemed to kind of kickstart some things for us. Now I should have counted before, but I think we're pushing like 80 titles right now. And I never thought we'd be knocking on the door of 100 published titles this quickly. I really thought we'd be doing 3 or 4 at the most per year. So we are way ahead of schedule of what I wanted or what I thought we would do. And we're growing still. I mean, I've got people still submitting stuff, even though we've got our publishing schedule for the next 3 years already set.
Wow.
So, it's doing well. It started off small. It was just 2 Italian guys who were on the radio in Los Angeles. And unfortunately, Jim isn't here anymore to see where we're going. And I just hope that we're doing him proud.
I'm sure you are. You guys are doing good things. So, what all genres do you produce? You didn't cover that.
Well, we do science fiction and fantasy. Mostly the fantasy is urban fantasy, especially with Declan Finn's St. Tommy's Books. That was another series we inherited with another publisher, shuttered. I kind of seem to be a refugee center. Somebody loses their publisher, they still got more books. Come on, bring them over. But we do that. We've got westerns, and that is something we'll continue doing because that was Jim's specialty. In fact, he started on another western that was a sequel of one he and I wrote. That was originally, he was supposed to write that one, and then I would write the second sequel. And so I'm going to take what he had and kind of mix it in with mine. So we'll have at least one more western. We do mystery thrillers, and we have some nonfiction. 2 of them are sports books that I wrote, and the other 2 are what I would say Christian themed poetry by Rob Jones. In fact, one is inspired by by Lewis. I can't remember the second initial. It's CM Lewis. Brain fart. Yeah. But yeah, so that's pretty much what we're going to do. There's very few areas we won't publish. I would say romance and erotica, definitely not going to happen. But other than that, we're kind of open. The big thing is it an entertaining story that we think people are going to enjoy reading, and that's the only criteria I have.
I mean, maybe we could convince you to change your mind. Nick's got this idea for Yeti romance. I'm just saying.
Yeah, a Yeti's involved, but there's some other creatures involved too for a love triangle. I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm not judging.
No, I'm not judging either. I just don't know. That might be that one step over the line for us.
It's not like I'm bringing feet into it.
Sir, don't go too crazy. This is a family crazy show.
I will read it. I just do. I make. I tell people when they
I would write it as a comedy, though. It's meant to be
that
fun.
might be publishable if it's definitely comedy satire, right?
Comedy, parody, satire.
Okay, there you go.
It's meant to take a jab. And,
and
have a laugh.
I tell everybody who asks, can I submit this? By all means, submit. I will read it. The only thing I won't do is promise that I'm going to publish it.
I'll have a female antagonist looking for because she's going to have a foot fetish, and she heard Yetis had the biggest feet in the game.
Damn, I don't know. That might be. We might be right up against the line there. We'll see.
I'll throw in some Santa's elves, make it family friendly. They'll tickle his feet with candy canes. It'll be hilarious. We'll all have a laugh. No,
Lord.
Not so much. My wife's giving me the no-go. She's giving me roughing
you
the
are
passer.
a no-go at this station, sir.
I will yield to Madam Stabby Stab's veto.
I did write
like you said, some ideas you shouldn't write down. They get a little too dark.
Yeah, we're starting to get close to the one I have. All right.
I did write The Vacuum Sucks Hard: Adventures of the USS Big Stick about space Amish and space Mennonites fighting like sex goddesses.
Yeah.
Such a whore.
There is a guy, and I had him on for one of my podcasts, who wrote Amish vampire and Amish werewolf stories, and they sell like crazy. Wow. And to me, if somebody brought that to me, I'd like, no, go away. No, we're not going to do that. But he's got them out. He's doing fine. I think he's up to like 4 or 5 books now. And I just shake my head. It's like, okay, he found a market. Well done. Good for you, sir.
Good for you, bud.
Yeah. Oh, that sounded like another veto.
All right. So we've talked about how your company come to be. What are you expecting to publish in 2024? You got any big plans?
Oh, well, yeah, if everything goes according to plan, we'll have a new release every month. But I will preface that with, when does everything always go to plan, right?
Right.
Our next release is scheduled for January the 9th, and it's one of my books. It's Sea Dragon, which is the comic book that I was the lead writer for back in the 80s. And I ran into the last surviving creator of that comic book series a couple of years ago in Omaha. And I was telling him, I've got this idea. We only had 6 issues before the company shut down. I was just getting to where I could get into his backstory and really lay things out. I've always felt like I wanted to finish that. Would you mind if I do a novelization? It won't be a comic book or a graphic novel. It's going to be a straight up novel. And he goes, sure, go for it. So I get to go back and kind of do what I originally wanted to do, with some better ideas now. 35 years later, you've learned some things that you can apply and make it a better story. So that should be out. I've got Firstborn's Curse is coming out in March, and then the next StarQuest Fourth Age story comes out in July. Then we've got, I'm looking at my board here as I'm trying to rattle this off. We've got Lori Janeski has a sequel to Phoenix. And hopefully by October, we will have John C. Wright's StarQuest 12th Age stories starting with his first book. And right now it's a 12-book series that he's got. And the reason why we had to hold is he found a huge issue and had to go back and rewrite the previous 8 books. So as soon as he gets that fixed, we'll get those started. So that's going to keep us busy. Declan Finn's got one coming up at the end of the year. So 6 is White Ops. So yeah, we've got a lot. We got a lot coming. We've got 2 debut novels scheduled for the last third of the year, if I'm looking at my schedule right. So yeah, we're going to have plenty out there. Sci-fi, fantasy, urban fantasy, and then we got a mystery thriller. That's one of our debut novels. Should be interesting. Yeah. Title is Happily Ever After: Death of a Hitman.
Ooh, I see playbill potential on that. New York City, Broadway.
It's actually
salesman.
It's about a hitman who operates in Southern California.
I'm just saying, you live in Southern California. I'm just saying, is it you?
No, it is not me. It is not me.
No, he's talking about me because I live in San Diego.
No, I will be interesting to. It'll be interesting to see where in Southern California it's set, but I know it is set in the general LA area, and the main character is the hitman.
Palo Alto. That's where all the hitmen live.
Yep. But yeah, we've got.
Wait, did I guess it? Did I guess it? Is it Palo Alto?
No.
No,
It's. You know what? I haven't read it all the way yet, so I don't know where. I just know it's going to be down in the LA basin because he's got some place up in the mountains where you can look down and see the whole basin.
Oh yeah, there's lots of places. Oh,
yeah,
man.
I mean, you could be Mulholland.
10 towns.
It could be Mulholland. Yeah, it could be the Pasadena, San Gabriel mountain range, because you can kind of see LA from there.
Yeah, when you're going up into the grapevines.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see where in LA this is going to come down at, but we'll see.
Shit, Richard, now I'm curious. Now I got to spend another $20 on a book. Well, I'm curious about where this guy's living because I'm gonna.
As soon as I know, I'll slip you a little email.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up on Zillow, see if it fits my price range.
So, you've talked about the books you got coming out, and you've talked about the genres you cover. Are you guys open for submissions at the moment, or are you closed since you're a one-man shop at the moment?
Right now, we're closed because we just. Like I said, we've got such a full slate right now. I don't want to bring in new people because it may be 2 or 3 years before we can get them on into the schedule. So I think, to me, it would drive me nuts to have to wait 3 years for my book to get published. So I've closed it so that way somebody is not sending me something and it's going to be a no simply because I don't have a space for you. I don't have a slot to fit you in right now. And I don't want to I don't want to bombard the market to where, there's just too much out there, and we have books not selling because it's just a tsunami of books coming out. So it's a balancing act. I'm sure at some point in 2024 we'll reopen, and you can go to our website. There's a page there. Right now it says we're closed. When it reopens, there'll be instructions on what you need to do to submit to us.
Well, I will say, because when the certain publishing closed where Declan was looking for a new home, him and I talked, because I have Bayonet Books as the imprint that publishes the anthologies and my stuff. Well, the stuff that's not with other publishers. And I just looked at the production speed, like, holy crap, that man could do his own publishing house with just the books he writes a year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's insane.
But he's smart because he lets somebody like me have to deal with all this publishing stuff, and he has all the time in the world to write, right? That is the one lament. That is the one lament I have, is that I don't have time to write anymore, hardly, and I miss writing.
You can improve your sales so that way you can get interns and people to work for you.
That would be nice.
Well, you could, but we're dealing with small press here, man. Like,
yeah.
I know the plight because Apogee Comics is small press. And I would love to hire all these people, these editors, these, other people to help smooth it. But I'm doing poor man's publishing here,
Yeah.
Bootstrapping, I believe they call it.
Is that what it's called? Bootstrapping?
Yep.
Okay. That sounds fancier than what I said.
Or a duct tape production. You could call it a duct tape production.
If we got to a place where I could afford to bring in other people other than who I have, and we have a PA right now who is just knocking it out of the park for us. But we need to get to a certain income level where I can afford to bring on, somebody to go through, the submissions and to double, do the editing and whatnot. So right now I'm a man of many hats, and there's only so many hours in the day. The problem I would have, and just because of who I am and how I am, is letting there be somebody between me and the submissions, and being able to trust them to know, okay, this is what Richard wants, and not have somebody bring something in that I would want and they reject because they're thinking it's not what we're looking for. So that when and if that time comes, that's going to be the hardest thing for me to let go of, is not putting eyes on everything that comes in.
Yep.
So what I'm hearing from you is you are such a control freak, you could never hire a ghostwriter.
No,
God, I hate ghostwriters. I'm sorry, I do.
The thing is having trust enough in somebody else that knows how you're going to judge submissions.
Yeah.
To let other people play in your sandbox.
Mm-hmm.
So how long?
That trust is hard to earn.
Yeah. So that's going to be the trick.
How long before the great singularity where you merge with Three Ravens Publishing and then you take on Tor and Bane and Penguin Random House to be the surviving publishing house in the future, right next to Taco Bell?
I'm working on Richard's replicant so he can do more.
In the business, we call that a callback.
Yeah. I like Bane. We actually work with Bane. Some of our books are on their online store. So we have a really good relationship with Bane. Tor, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but what the hell? Tor, I would buy only for the sole purpose of shutting it down forever.
Out of spite. Oh my God!
Out of spite, I would take David Weber. I would take. I'm sure there's some other Tor authors. I would take all of them, put them under my umbrella, take the rest of it, float it out to the middle of the ocean, and then.
Richard, I have a boat. I can make that happen for you.
So yeah, we joke about this. No, it wouldn't be Viking. It would be instant vaporized. Gone.
Okay.
No, I mean, I'm joking about that, guys. Seriously, don't send me hate mail now. So it could happen that Tuscany Bay got that big.
Well,
You
Betty,
know,
Betty.
anything is possible. Do I realistically see it happening? No. I want Tuscany Bay to be known for producing books that people want to read, enjoy reading. They can walk away from their daily grind, especially when it's a bad day, pick up one of our books, just lose themselves in this book
The
for a couple
escapism.
hours
Yeah.
and just forget whatever it is that was dragging them down before they got to the book.
You and I
That's
have the same goals, man.
yeah.
Just different mediums.
I just
The
want
escapism.
them, yeah, is to that's why I read science fiction when I was a kid and even as I grew up. You know, crappy day. All right. Let me get Dune by Frank Aber, or let me go grab one of Clark or or Harry Harrison's stainless steel rat series. You know,
Oh,
let me dive
Dean
into that.
Koontz. Dean Koontz
And
was a big
yeah,
escapism thing for me as a
yeah,
kid.
let me forget all this stuff. So I want to be able to provide people that safe, not safe place, but that place where they can go when they're having issues, where they can just put it away for a while. It's like the old movies. You went to the movie theater for 2 hours, you forgot what was going on outside those doors, and
Favorite science?
you just lose
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
What
And
was your favorite science fiction movie?
my favorite science fiction movie, it's definitely Forbidden Planet.
That's good, wholesome escapism
Yeah.
with effects that their matte paintings made it seem like CGI before CGI was even a thought.
Yeah.
We talked about in the show in that episode. You mentioned that you'd listened to it. They were 20, 30 years ahead of anything
Yeah.
else. Like we didn't see anything like it till Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it was an amazing.
It was, yeah. And there's a ton of them. I mean, I could go down a list that would take 2 hours, but yeah, for Forbidden Planet, it was on the other day. I was needed something on in the background while I was working. So I'm clicking through the, on demand on our cable because I actually have Forbidden Planet on DVD stored on my hard drive, but I was using
nice.
that screen. So I couldn't, I didn't want to shrink it down. So I'm clicking on the TV and Forbidden Planet was available. I've seen that movie hundreds of
Dozens
times.
of times, right?
Clicked it back on, had it going, did my work. So, that's my go-to movie when I just want to watch something and not have to think about something for a while. I'll go grab that one.
Mine
I like
is the
that
Eagle,
correlation.
with the Roman Legion at the wall with the early 2000s movie.
The signal, not signal.
Eagle
Sorry,
is what
I
it's
spoke.
called.
Yeah, the standard.
No, it's called the name of the movie is The Eagle.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
was one
but they're
called The
talking-
Eagle. Yeah.
What you're talking about, not just the movie title, but what they were carrying around with the Eagle, that's called The Standard.
The
Oh, I
standard.
know.
I gotta tell you, the movie's called The Eagle. It's a great movie. It's probably one of Channing Tatum's best. Did
I
say
think it was
that
like
right?
2010, 2011.
What is
So
it?
it had Channing
Yeah, something
Tatum.
like that.
Channing, right? Channing Tatum.
For a second, I thought you were talking about the reimagining of the Arthur legend. I think it was called Arthur.
Yeah,
with
that's
the
good. One, too.
Clive Owen.
Oh,
Yeah,
were they? Yeah, that's a good one.
that was actually a pretty good one too.
Yeah, where Arthur, or they call him Arturius.
Yeah.
It wasn't his name. It was the Roman word for captain
Mhm.
or commander. I liked it how they merged the lore with the historical stuff.
Yeah.
So,
And they kept it. It was respectful enough to the original lore that you could buy into it without going, "Oh, come on, you're
Yeah,
just throwing
and-
crap in here now." So,
well, and Keira Knightley was really hot.
Well,
in
yeah.
her skin bikini. Being
that was her first
the mage's
non-Pirates movie.
Yeah, and yeah. So she went from being a stand-in in Star Wars in the prequels, the decoy, and then she went to Pirates movies where she got really good fame,
Mhm.
and then she went to, I think it wasn't too long after she got into that Arthur movie that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then she became a bounty hunter and did nude scenes. It's a really weird career path.
It's
Bounty
an
Hunter.
interesting
What
career
movie was
path.
that?
What?
What was the bounty hunter movie?
I'm gonna have to look it up, and I'll
Yeah.
send it to you. But she was a badass in it, man. Like she
Okay.
went through some training, not like John Wick, Keanu Reeves training, but you could tell that she.
Did you see
she
the
knew how to
announcement they're going to be making a
keep-
John Wick anime?
No.
That just makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine what they can do to amp the volume up or the volume of the amp the violence up on that one?
Oh, dude, you.
Oh, good grief! Yeah.
John Wick was at a 10. This movie's at an 11.
Go to ludicrous speed.
Yeah.
They went plaid.
They've gone plaid.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about revisiting old friends with books, with movies. I mean, I've got some series that I've read
I don't know.
dozens of times.
Hold on. Still on
I think we're still trying to find that Keira Knightley movie. You know what irritated me? There was when Kenneth Branagh redid the Perot movie, Murder on the Orient Express.
That was so good.
It was very good. That's another guy who knows how to visually present a movie. When they first showed the trailer, they briefly showed Daisy Ridley as being one of the characters, and because I was kind of watching out of the corner of my eye, I thought it was Keira Knightley in it. And that's really, I was like, okay, that could be good. You know, we'll see what she does. And then I'm watching it, I'm like, that's not Keira Knightley. And it took me a while to realize that was Daisy Ridley. And I'm like, my God, when that actress has a director who knows what he's doing, she can act.
Ruin Smith or Ruin whatever his name is.
Yeah. So because watching the Star Wars sequels, I really didn't think she was that great of an actress. I thought she was terrible.
I think she was a total Mary Sue that we'll get into a future episode because I know I'm getting hate mail.
But I mean, acting ability alone, not the character itself, but on acting ability alone, I was not impressed with her as an actress until I saw Murder on the Orient Express, and I'm like, okay, she can act. She just didn't have a director. You know?
Yeah, or a good writer that wrote good dialogue. I mean,
There's the other thing, yeah.
I mean, shit, even Carrie Fisher, she had wooden dialogue when Lucas was running the show. Mm-hmm. Then you put her in other movies, and she was very charming, and she's very witty, and it really got to focus on her actorial strengths. Like, she was a very sarcastic actress. Like, if you needed a sarcastic, little fire plug in your movie, that was also really good eye candy for the nostalgia piece. Because I still dream about Return of the Jedi. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you need a good actor. You need good actors. You need a good director. You need a good screenwriter for a movie to really work. And there was a thing I was watching. It had Matt Damon. He was talking about his time on The Departed. And there's a scene in the movie, I think pretty early, where Jack Nicholson is just supposed to, I think they said it was like 2 paragraphs in the script. Yeah. Jack Nicholson is shooting a guy in the back of the head. He falls, and then they walk away. And that was supposed to be it.
He felt funny.
Yeah, when you see the movie, that thing's much larger because Nicholson's in there talking with Scorsese, and he goes, yeah, we could do that. But if you leave the camera rolling, and he lays out all this stuff that he added to it. And then he turns to Damon, and he goes, I would not be where I am today as an actor if I weren't a good writer. And that makes sense. You need to have a good base for those actors and directors to
absolutely.
Work with.
Like, one of my favorite movies from Nicholson is Chinatown.
Yeah, he was good in that.
It's a great movie. And this is post One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which I think the actor, the Gen X actor that I was growing up with was Christian Slater, who always reminded me of Jack. And I really thought Christian Slater was going to be the next Jack Nicholson. And I don't know what the hell happened. I want my money back.
Poor career choices.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
He was, if you look at Jack from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and now that we have actors like Timothy Olyphant, who also look like Jack and act like Jack, and I'm like, all what could have been,
Yeah.
But now these actors are my age, and I got to take them tonight,
Yeah.
Well, we've been all over the place, and maybe like
This has been a good show.
a tenth of this episode, we actually talked about Tuscany Bay Books. We were supposed to get nerdy with it, but I guess we got
nerdy all around. We hit the whole globe.
Yeah, we did the whole. We were hot to trot on everything but Tuscany Bay Books.
Just go to our website. Go to our website, www.tuscanybaybooks.com, and you will see the insane universe that we are creating there. And if you cannot find a book to read there, I got nothing.
Yeah,
I really do.
I think we've really illustrated how fun Richard is and how that's going to translate to the books that are going on over there in Tuscany Bay. I dig it, man. I like your work. And I haven't even read anything yet.
Which one of the Tuscany Bay books or IPs would you want if a movie publishing house came to you and like, yeah, we're definitely going to make this. This isn't we just buy the rights and sit on it for 100 years and it never gets made. If they were actually going to turn it into film, which one of your Tuscany Bays would you like to see first?
Damn, that's tough. I'm going to preface it by saying we've got one that's in development. And it's in development hell because of the strikes. So I'm hoping that now that the strikes are over with, we can get moving on it. It's mine. It's the Del Rio mystery series. But of the ones that I have not personally written, I would love to see somebody take Declan's St. Tommy's series and run with it, because you have 12 books. You've got 4 short stories that are connected to it that we publish. There is so much material there. And the way he wrote them, I think it's every 3 books are their own little sequel. They're their own little 3-book run. And then they tie together perfectly throughout. I don't know how he managed that. One day when I grow up, I hope to figure out how to be a writer like that. But I would love to see St. Tommy make it.
I wonder if it's that the green fedora.
It's something. It is something. But I just sit back and all I can do is we're not worthy, you know.
We actually plan on having Declan back, but unfortunately, when he moved to Texas, his Wi-Fi wasn't the greatest. Supposedly, he has that fixed, so we got to get him back on the docket. He could be fun because we tried to get him on one of the horror.
Oh yeah, he'd be great.
Nick is talking. I'm sure he's saying profound stuff, but he's muted.
Again? Okay.
I could read his lips on the last 2 words.
It's 1 out of 3 episodes. I forget to put the mute off. Declan always wears those hats, right? Mm-hmm. Like fedoras and like Australian Outbackers hats. There's an episode of Creepshow on Shudder that deals with a hat that helps writers write better. So like they put the hat on and eventually they pull the hat off and it's like these claws with suction cups and shit like that, right? It's really freaky. And it's making these guys that were like meh writers into like these like Stephen King level epic writers. And now you got the writers that have used the hat but lost the hat, or like, oh, I want my hat back, because other than that, you're just like a hack. And I watched that. And I love Declan. I love having conversations with Declan. He's a little pistol, you know.
He gets really political, and we got to get him to tone that down.
Yeah, we got to kind of put the last on a little bit longer, because we're like, yeah, I agree with you, but we can't be doing this online.
Yeah.
You know?
It's either the hat or the yellow jacket, one or the other.
I've never encountered yellow jacket.
It's not orange?
No, it's yellow.
Yellow jacket Declan. That's a nickname. So that episode made the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, that's Declan Finn.
That's Declan.
I'll be a sumbitch. That's Declan Finn.
The going theory with Declan Finn today is that he made a pact with the devil, and that's how he writes so quickly.
No, it wasn't.
It's a hat.
It was alien. The hat was alien.
Okay.
Alien, right? It wasn't demonic or anything like that. It was alien, but that whole species was like a bunch of writers. So you got like a whole planet of creatives. And they're like, oh, well, and there was one lone alien who his stuff wasn't taken off on his homeworld. So he turned himself into a hat because apparently that species had that ability. And he just started like, oh, I'm going to use this human who's a writer. I'm going to make him into a great writer. And Earth loved it. Earth loved everything about this alien writer. Pretty damn funny.
Or it could be the hat. The hat belonged to a author who was very prolific in his time. And when he died, he possessed the hat. So when you put the hat on,
Yeah,
you
you
there
can
you
do
go.
like a poltergeist hat. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
that's okay. I want to see that book from Tuscany. That's what I'm saying.
All right,
Well,
Declan. So as you're his boss, you're going to reach out to Declan and say, when this episode goes live, you will watch it. When you get to the 1 hour and 30 mark, you have your marching orders. Make it happen, sir.
Make it happen. Yep.
You'll
Not
give it to you a
aliens.
week
I want
later.
ghosts, damn it. I want spirits.
It'll be like Creep Show meets Ghost with Kevin. Was it Patrick Swayze?
What I'm going to do is well, we're going to have to do a summons for that, Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's no longer with us. I'm just saying the themes. You might even get Whoopi Goldberg to stop her whatever she does.
Oh, there better be a Potter scene in there. Why
Yeah.
wearing that?
But no. I'm just thinking.
Vito?
You didn't like Whoopi Goldberg's character in Ghost?
I know better than for you to bring it up because you don't want politics. So
Oh,
stop.
No,
yes,
no.
you will.
We're talking
No,
about her
We're
acting.
bringing in 1988 Whoopi, not 2023 Whoopi.
She used to have
There's
acting.
no accessory pack with Joy Behar.
All right. We weren't talking about her political. I'm just saying she would have to pause long enough, and I'm sure they pay her a lot of money to get her to do this like kind of niche thing. But I think it could work.
Yeah, if you pay her enough. One of my favorite movies as a kid was Jumpin' Jack Flash, starring Whoopi Goldberg.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's a nice little whodunit.
Yeah.
She's like a detective, I think.
Was it-
No, she's a
Wasn't
PI.
Whoopi also in Sister Act where she was singing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we don't
Mary
talk about that.
Sister Mary Catherine, yeah. Anyway,
My mom
we're
loved that
all
movie.
over the
She watched
place.
it like
We're
9 times.
We're an hour and 40 minutes in, like 100 minutes. We promised we would talk about Tuscany Bay Books. We did.
We did.
We did.
The Ish is doing a lot of the
Hey.
heavy lifting here.
There it is. There it is. Right there. See,
Hold on.
for an hour and 40 minutes, people have seen that logo over my shoulder because I have made sure I have not blocked it. And you can
Right,
even
that's
see
good.
some. You can even see some of our books right there. See, right there, and then that shelf.
That's
below,
product
it's all over.
placement right there, boys. Take
Product
notes.
placement. Don't
Do
be
we have
distracted by the
experience
Godzillas, but watch the Tuscany Bay stuff.
How can you not love the Frankenstein poster on his
Oh, yeah,
other
classic,
shoulder there?
man. Yeah.
There's a little
Which way I gotta
Frankie.
go? There you go.
There you go. Yeah,
Hold on,
definitely
hold on,
check
hold
out
on.
Tuscany Bay
Hold
Books.
on. Solo layout.
There you go.
go.
And for
Oh
those
my lord!
for those who are wondering, this right here actually does move. And on one side, the young lady has fallen asleep while reading. She is on top. This is a stack of books. When you flip it over, she's awake and reading.
So
Nice.
on the other side, she's reading the books of who we're going to do a little petty stuff with.
Oh no,
On the other
okay.
side, while she's awake, she's definitely reading Tuscany Bay Books.
Yeah,
And above his head, we have Godzilla.
you get 3 Godzillas.
Gojira.
You have there you go. You have the original 1960s Godzilla. Then you have the
Yeah.
first 2014, and then you got that big boy from the Godzilla versus Kong.
And you got the Godzilla crossing sign.
And I have a Godzilla crossing sign. Yeah,
Chernobyl.
as you can tell, I am Team Godzilla.
Obviously,
I was getting very
Obviously.
annoyed because I was afraid they were going to make King Kong the hero of that movie, and it was not going to sit well. But fortunately, the king stepped up and defended his crown.
I can replicate his battle cry, but it will blow out speakers if I do.
Oh, okay. Let's not do that.
That and I don't have a
Okay.
synthesizer.
That's just not.
No.
She's heard it and it blew out her eardrums.
Yeah, I did that as a joke at the end of one of the writer's blocks because we were at one point it was a radio show, but we do a video version that we play later. And as a joke, I cut in the battle scream at some point because it matched with whatever it was we were talking about. Yeah, you can get that thing going pretty good sometimes.
Okay. Well, that being said,
Jared, go on.
we talked about the movie you'd want to see or the book you'd want to see as a movie.
Mhm.
We've got what's coming. We got your website where everyone can go, but we'll put all of that in the show notes. So what book is going to be coming out this year? What's left?
For this year, we are done for this year. We're kind of gathering ourselves and catching our breath a little bit. This year, A lot of things were changed. A lot of new ideas that we wanted to incorporate going forward, mostly toward marketing and publicity. So we've kind of spent a lot of time on that aspect of it. And I knew we had pretty well covered. I think we had a release last month. I'm drawing a complete blank on what it was, but it was out. And we just want to take November and December, kind of recharge the batteries and get ready, because when we hit 2024, it's going to be hitting the ground running again. We're going to have a book every month. We're going to be probably at a couple of cons. We're still kind of narrowing that down, and then we've got some promotional obligations that are going to be coming up if things fall into place, that are going to be taking some time. So I knew we needed to take 2 months and just kind of get charged up.
Yeah.
Okay. So how can listeners and viewers find you on the wild interwebs? And as usual, I link all of the show notes.
For Tuscany Bay, just go to TuscanyBayBooks.com. Our website, everything we have available, purchase links are there. We have an author page for all of our authors. We have our awards. We have our bestsellers. We've had several bestsellers this year, which has been nice. For me personally, go to sci-fi-scribe.com. It's SCIFISCRIBE.com. Unless you want to type my first and last name together, Sci-Fi Scribe is usually better. And that will go to my website with all of my stuff. I do have a newsletter for both Tuscany Bay and for myself. There's links on both websites, so you can sign up for the newsletter as well.
Fricky Standing, that will be linked in the show notes, dear listener, dear viewer, you guys at home in Podcastia land. And with that being said, we'd like to remind you, it's a legitimate place. It's on a map somewhere.
No, I agree with it. Keep that going. Hashtag
Podcastia land. Trademark J.R. Handley 2023. It's the only good thing that comes out of 2023. Well, except for all the Tuscany Bay books, of course. But this is where the part of the show where we remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books. So people, do your part. Reviews are about helping other readers find what they liked, what they didn't like. We prefer, obviously, 5-star reviews because it just looks cooler to have like a bazillion 5 stars. But if you're going to leave a 1-star, at least constructive criticism on why you didn't like it. Don't put these Jimmy Deans were horrible when you review a book. Maybe put not enough action, too much cussing, not enough cussing. The lights goes on, because quite frankly, if I see sci-fi that's like too much violence and cussing, I'm like, dude, that 1-star just sold me the book. My favorite review ever, Nick, was a review. You're muted if you're talking. My favorite review ever of a book was one of mine, and somebody wrote, "This is what happens when a 12-year-old with ADHD writes gun porn." And I'm like, why didn't I think of that for ad copy?
Oh my God, that totally could have been your promo.
Hey, right? My best review, negative review that I got, was for Escaping Infinity. 1 star, has too much sex in it. I write fade to black sex scenes. How did it have too much sex in it?
Right.
But I use that as a tagline. Buy this book. It has too much sex in it. I mean, we saw a spike. We saw a sales spike just off of that.
But did they give you bad reviews when they found no sex?
Oh,
no, I don't know. It specifically said this book has too much sex in it.
Okay.
Right.
Well, with that being said, Richard has told us where you can find him. You can find us on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast, where we link to all the things, the bits, shoots, the rumbles, the Twitters, the Blasters and Blades Facebook group, Facebook page. We link to our email address for Blasters and Blades. Even better, serious business inquiries only, mind you. And stop sending me those unsolicited bird pictures. You know what I'm talking about, Bob, right? Like, no more of that story. It's not funny anymore. And I would not be surprised if this was Nick with a pseudonym just to mess with me. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying it's me, but I'm not saying it's not me.
Right. I get you. You're not saying either. But we also linked to Madam Stabby Stab over on the Twitters, the Instagrams, and the email where you could send all the hate mail. I tried to send her hate mail. She's told me to stop flirting with her because Nick still knew how to dope a scope and it would get ugly. So,
oh, yeah.
Apparently I didn't do a good enough job. So you need to pick up where I have failed, people. Pick that standard up and carry it into the promised land.
That's right.
And Nick promises it'll only hurt a little bit.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidge. All right. With that being said, you can also find us on our website at anchor.fm/blasters and tack blades. Again, anchor.fm/blasters-and-blades, where for as little as 99 cents a month, you can help keep the lights on. Every penny helps, people. These episodes are not free to produce. So when you help keep the overhead, you keep us going, and we greatly appreciate all of you. You can support the show more directly at buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section it's for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink until the coffee pours out of their nose. They won't drink that, though. It probably wouldn't taste very good. And or Dr. Pepper for Richard. But speaking of coffee, if you wanted to also support the show and drink some coffee instead of just using a website called Coffee, you could go to the link we give you for coffee brand coffee, made in America, made to order. It is not drop shipped. It is made by the fine folks at Coffee Brand Coffee. Use the link in the show notes and the code podcast grunts, and you get 10% off. And Stabby is in love. In fact, she has got the jitters right now because she had her 12th cup today. Like we make no allowances. Like I'm just saying, this will show up on a drug test if you drink their coffee.
They sent me a free bag of coffee when I reordered my blueberry. And I also ordered the pecan sticky bud. And they sent me a free bag of Roaster's Choice.
Nice.
I have to grind my own beans to drink it, but it's so worth it. It's delicious.
I mean, there's nothing like that. Do you hand crank it, or do you make Nick do it, or do you have a machine?
We got a blender.
I put it in my Ninja.
My Ninja.
A bullet. All right.
Bullet.
Maybe we could get Ninja or a meat. I'd be okay with Booze Company like sponsored us, and we don't actually need money if they just send us the booze and we'll talk about it. Like that would be cool.
Heck yeah.
I'm not saying we would do the drunk cast, but I'm not saying it either. Like I'm just saying.
I'm not saying it either. That's right.
We're open to possibilities, dear listener. And, you know, I said 20 minutes ago, let's wrap this up. And I'm still the one gabbling. I blame Richard because he's fun. And I'm still looking at Godzilla thinking dinosaurs are cool.
Godzilla.
That's right. All right. With that being said, dear listener, we appreciate you spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, high on life and on caffeine from Coffee Brand Coffee, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blade podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. And I will make no allowances for what Nick may or may not have put in his coffee. I'm just saying he's Irish on his mother's side.
It's Tannerite.
Yeah, we'll go with that. It's totally not bourbon in his bourbon coffee. And with that,
there's a little bourbon with Tannerite.
Put some hair on your